Good morning, everybody. We are back. It is the right side of campus, and we are live here on a Tuesday, September 4th, 2018. I'm your host, the big man on campus. 2 days until NFL gets going. College football week one is wrapped up, and we already are excited for week two here at SBR Picks. Donnie Rightside, how you doing?
Doing good. Hey, man, looks like a lot of fun last night watching Florida State struggle out there on offense under a new regime. And again, when you're betting week one college football, sometimes it's hard to gauge exactly how some of these young kids are going to play under the bright lights out there. Florida State was an absolute train wreck out there. I don't know if we expected that much. Somebody more expected to have Virginia Tech's defense struggle since they were the younger crew out there. But Willie Taggart's got a long way to go. Had a nice little tweet last night that got a lot of traction that had Bovada posting odds for Willie Taggart to be fired by November. A lot of people didn't read the sarcasm through that, Jeff. But hey, 1 week in the books in college football. Looking forward to more of it.
Welcome in to everyone out there listening. As always, we hope you enjoy the show. Do us a favor, hit the like button and say hello in the chat. Also, retweet the show on Twitter. That is a great way to get it out to people that don't see it on a regular basis. They see it, they say, oh, maybe I might like this. And they'll tune in. They can check out the show. Let's get into it, Donnie. We'll jump right into headlines. Welcome in. What who do we have here? Who do we have? Troy V, Steve, Kyle, Joe, Jared, Reggie, Jason. Nebraska knows some stuff. Welcome in. Barry Roselle, great guy. Met him on Sunday. Kyle L, crazy rocker. Let's get into the show. Donnie, Aaron Judge, guy that we've kind of forgot about. We haven't seen Aaron Judge in a while, but he swung off a tee yesterday. He swung powerfully and says he's feeling great. He has no pain and hopes to return in a week or two. The Yankees sure need him, Donnie. Judge took 25 dry swings, no context of baseball, at 25 off a tee, and said he feels great and close to 100%. They need him, obviously. Big drop off really when Aaron Judge went out of the lineup. They've had some injuries to deal with. They don't look like the Yankees at the beginning of the season. They're not going to win the AL East, but Judge coming back, obviously a big deal, not only at the plate, but in the field as well. Need him back.
No, you're right about that. And there's no reason to rush him back. You're going to make the playoffs. Send him down to Tampa, down to the Steinbrenner complex. Let him get his swings in off the tees. Let him, hit some soft pitches out there. Get his body right and his mind right. Maybe bring him back, Jeff, that last week of September, just to see some real live pitching in Major League Baseball. Get that timing back in correct. But I wouldn't rush anything here. He's going to be a key to a postseason run if you have any. I'm not sure the Yankees have the starting pitching to make any postseason run, but you're going to be in there. You might as well be healthy. I wouldn't rush him back at all. Let him take his time. There's no timetable. Just have him back by that last week of September just to get ready.
Yeah, I mean, send him over to Scranton Wilkes-Barre, let him take some swings, then get him up to the big boys. But we all know the Yankees need Aaron Judge. Braylon Edwards, Donnie, former Michigan receiver, suspended from his Big Ten gig after he was it was all over Twitter criticizing Michigan. And listen, you got to give it to a guy like Braylon Edwards, who, look, I know has a job to do, but is a former Michigan player. Still obviously roots for the university heavily, and he's not happy with what he's seeing from this football team. He criticized Shea Patterson, saying that he was scared, called Cesar Ruiz, an offensive lineman, weak, and then went on a tweet storm, fucking Michigan offense so predictable. He also called them one thing, sadly, trash. He told the Detroit News he plans to reach out to the players and his brother, who's a player on the team. Donnie, I mean, you see this before. Alumni not happy with things. They maybe say a little too much. In one way, I do like this. I want want the reporter or the analyst to be, obviously candid, but clearly he's a big time fan of Michigan and he said a little bit too much. In the Twitter world, you can't say all this stuff now and expect nothing to happen from your employer. He was suspended indefinitely. How about that? Not even suspended a few weeks, indefinitely. So we might not see Braylon Edwards for a little while.
Yeah, Braylon banked a lot of money in the NFL, so I don't really think he cares too much about the overall job itself. How much does the Big Ten Network actually pay Braylon Edwards? I didn't even know Braylon Edwards was even on the Big Ten Network, so it probably did him a lot of good actually getting his name out there, seeing that he actually was an analyst, which I had no idea that he was. But Braylon Edwards has been like this for a long time with Michigan, Jeff. If you remember going back to the Rich Rodriguez days, where it's a tradition at Michigan to give out the number one as a uniform, which Rich Rodriguez did not give out. But I don't know the whole background behind the number one, whether it goes to a captain or what it is. Somebody out there in the chat box who's, Michigan Tide will know that. But it's a big deal to have that number. Rich Rodriguez somehow messed that up, and he crushed them at that time as well, crushed the Brady Hoke regime. He's a fan because he played there, because he cares about the university. I love it. I love the passion, because if you're sitting back watching, I didn't play for the Miami Hurricanes. I don't play for the Philadelphia Eagles, but I take pride in those programs and like to rip into them there. Now, you can't do it with your, provider of services like you work for a company. I understand that. And you do have to suffer the consequences, and you will be suspended because this is the Big Ten Network. You don't want to rip the Big Ten, so to speak. But I love the passion of Braylon Edwards. I do.
Yeah, same here. And I think you're right as far as money's concerned. It's not like he's worried about it, but again, I like the passion that he's showing. Your alumni is important to a lot of people, and I think he genuinely loves Michigan.
Yeah.
Steelers, still no Le'Veon Bell. The season's about to get going. I can't remember the last time a player actually didn't, wasn't there for the first game of the season. Usually these things get figured out. Brass is obviously disappointed that he didn't show up. And it's really just about, a contract at this point. According to the center, Marquise Pouncey, though, he told ESPN he'll be here Wednesday. Count on it. So I'm not sure what that means. Here you're seeing that he'll be here. Some people are worried that he's not here. Still no contract for Le'Veon Bell, Donnie.
No, and here's the question I have for this, right? They haven't been able to work out a contract in a couple years now. If you're Le'Veon Bell, you're banking on you're going to make a nice chunk of change now with the franchise tag regardless. Did you want your, up pay? Did you want your guaranteed money there? Yes, but obviously you're asking for an exorbitant amount, and you are a running back, and they're saying, no, you're not getting that money. But I'm sure they probably had a deal on the table that's going to pay him well above what he's currently making now. The only question I have with this, Jeff, is what does Le'Veon Bell get out of this year by holding out, into game week? He didn't show up to any mini camps or anything, so no football activities in 6, 7, 8 months or whatever it is since the end of the season. Now, granted, he's working out on the side. He's with his trainers. He's lifting weights. He's trying to get himself in shape. But you can't substitute him actually being with the football team, the camaraderie, the new plays, getting the refresher course, working out with your teammates and getting back up and what we used to call like getting these that's what I'm looking for, scabs off your shoulder pads, getting the hit, getting the burns out there. It's never the same duplication doing it on yourself or with yourself and with the trainer as you do in camp and training camp with your teammates and getting your grind on. Now, also, the Steelers would have worked with him, Jeff. Let's just say he says, I'm not showing up to off-season program. I'm not showing up to the majority of camp. I will sign that franchise wager. And I'm sure they're going to say, look, come into camp. We're not going to work you that hard. If you're worried about getting injured before this, you're still going to get paid anyway. Just be around the team, be in the meeting room, come out, work out with us on the football field. And then maybe during game week, you're already back in shape and you're ready to go. From a business standpoint, this is horrific business for Le'Veon Bell. You're just going to step in there and think you're going to play game one like you're ready when you haven't been around the team for 9 months. It's ludicrous. You know what you're going to make this season. You have the franchise tag on you. It's guaranteed money. Come in and get your work in and let it play out again next year. I don't understand what Le'Veon Bell's doing. I don't.
Much more money.
No, I understand it, but you don't get any more money. All you're doing is hurt. Like, let's just say he comes into camp and gets hurt. Now, next year they go, we're not even going to put the franchise tag on. You're not going to make a fraction of what you're going to make next year. Like, it just, business sense just makes it 0 sense at all. I just don't understand.
Nick Foles named QB1 for Thursday night, Donnie, and the betting markets have adjusted. Tons of money coming in on the Atlanta Falcons. Eagles, Donnie, now a sharp play to take the Eagles. They're down at 2.5 at this point. It's amazing, Donnie, even after winning the Super Bowl, we have to remember preseason is limited. There's no game plan. They don't really run a ton of plays. You had offensive linemen hurt. Nick Foles did win the Super Bowl. People are still treating Nick Foles as if he didn't win anything. And look, I get it. I mean, people live off what they recently just saw. But, Donnie, I had to bring this up because, sometimes you don't look at this stuff and you just kind of forget. But Do me a favor right now. You got your computer in front of you. Go to Google, type
Mm-hmm.
in Nick Foles. Just type that in
Mm-hmm.
Google. All right.
I know probably
Um,
what comes up though.
no, look at you know how like on the right side they show like his Nick Foles Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Go down and look at nickname.
No, I know where you're going with this because that's what they
Like
chant, every time they see him in public.
no,
Yeah.
like I know like people chant that, and it's actually funny because the kid that said Big Dick Nick on the news, I know that kid.
Yeah.
He's from South Philly, and I feel like Wikipedia. I feel should that really be there, or is that just someone
That
put
is his
that?
that is his well-known nickname. When people see Nick Foles, that's all of a sudden what they assume for him now. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, Big Dick Nick. I mean, it's just funny that it's there. Like usually you see that like very like buttoned up and like just like a regular nickname, but yeah. So Nick Foles named the starter, Big Dick Nick, Donnie, starter for game number 1.
Yeah, hey, leaving off in the Super Bowl. You know what's kind of funny when you look at this? Now, look, it's obvious Carson Wentz is the better quarterback. Yes, did Nick Foles catch fire in a fairy tale playoff run? Absolutely, he did. But I hasten back to going back last year with almost the same exact mo. Jeff, coming into a certain playoff game where it was played in Philadelphia versus a
Hmm.
team named the Atlanta Falcons, where the line crashed down and the Eagles were an underdog at kickoff. Why do I get the
Yeah.
same feeling out of this one, Jeff? When you see the line crashing down, oh my God, Nick Foles, like what has changed other than an off season out there? That's I don't bet on week 1 or 2 in the NFL because I like to see how teams come out because nobody plays in the preseason. Everybody's winded after 6 plays, and I want to see how it comes down to. It's going to be 95 degrees opening weekend. These guys aren't ready to play football. By week 2 or 3, they'll have their stamina level back up and be ready to go at it. But I do look. I mean, I know Nigel Bradham's out. I know Alshon Jeffrey is out. Nick Foles is going to be the starter. But the Eagles have talent on both sides of the ball out there. Where did Atlanta get better? Where now, again, you take that same dose of medicine and say, oh, my God, Atlanta's going to run him over. Didn't we see that game play out last year where, again, Nick Foles didn't even play that well in that game against Atlanta, Jeff, and they still beat him?
Only have lost 4 times under Doug Peterson at home as well. And one of those losses was a game last year against Dallas that the Eagles made it clear they had no interest in caring about. So you really have only lost 3 times under Doug Peterson at home. So listen, I mean, this is a good team at home. And Donnie's 100% right. It's very similar to that playoff game. It was a low scoring, knockdown, drag out game. I don't think the Falcons have done a ton to get better. Think the Eagles have. I mean, you go out and get some better defensive linemen. Jason Peters will be healthy. You get Darren Sproles back in there. You do lose Jeffrey and 1 or 2 others, but overall this team is healthy. So looking forward to it. Elio Rodriguez, good morning, Big Man and Donnie. I have ESPN in the background. Eat eggs and coffee and all set. Love the show. Hey, thanks, man. That sounds good, actually. Little eggs and coffee, Donnie. Nothing wrong with that. I got the coffee. I
No.
don't have the eggs. I
I
have
got the
ESPN on the
monster, no
background.
eggs.
Yeah, our lives are very similar.
Yeah,
I
you got
believe.
good old Max
Uh,
back there. There you go. Yeah.
yeah, there he is. I'm a Kellerman. I've always been a Kellerman guy. I like Kellerman. I'm more of a boxing Kellerman guy, but I do like him as well on that show. Let's Donnie keep it moving and get into just kind of wrapping up and putting a bow on week 1 in college football. And we started out last night. I mean, you look at Donnie, the state of Florida, the last 2 nights, dreadful,
Yes.
dreadful football. You really, I was at the casino for both these games for the most part. Sunday I was only there for a little bit, but last night I was there the whole time, and I sat there. I was waiting for a table, Donnie, and I was sitting there watching it early in the second quarter, and the game was okay, I guess. And then I just kept. I finally got a table and started playing, and I just kept looking, and it's still the same score. I see Florida State fucking around with the ball, and Francois can't move the offense, and Willie Taggart looks lost. Doing anything with the team. And what is the issue right now with early on Florida football with these 2 teams?
Yeah, it looks like it's just a complete, disconnect right now. And that's going to happen when you just go from having, a regular spread offense out there to Jimbo Fisher to now a spread hurry up offense. You're going to have times where you're going to struggle in offense, especially in game 1 against one of the best defensive coordinators, not this year, not in the last 5 years, Jeff, maybe of all time in college football, Bud Foster. Again, you gave Bud Foster 6 to 8 months to get ready for this offense. I know, well, Florida State, they never had this offense. Well, you can get game tapes on Willie Taggart and see exactly how he's going to run the offense. And they knew exactly what Florida State wanted to do. Get your athletes out in space and go wide. And Virginia Tech said, you're not doing that today. And it got busted up each and every time. But Florida State was a mess out there with turnovers. And what's up with the state of quarterback play in Florida over the weekend? I didn't see, the Florida Gators play, some FCS, clown college, but you're looking at FAU, quarterback was trash. Miami's quarterback was trash. DeAndre Francois, absolute trash in that football game. They weren't prepared or ready in that game, but there is something to be said about, when you look at Florida State, your athletes are better than 90% of the programs out there just laying it out on the table. Why do you need that trickeration type offense? How about if you just lined up with your big uglies up front? You had an athletic fullback, and you gave the ball to Cam Akers about 20 to 25 times in that game and just let him get loose and run play action off that. You probably would have beat Virginia Tech. You have some mix-match Mickey Mouse, Chip Kelly offense running around out there, and Virginia Tech just laughed at him all night long, Jeff.
5 turnovers for the Seminoles.
Yeah.
I mean, just dreadful stuff. Game plan was all off. Willie Taggart, look, I don't really know how he's the coach of Florida State, really. This is a guy that keeps getting these big-time jobs, and it's kind of unwarranted, really. I mean, look, he did some good things at, South Florida, but, is he really ready for a job like this? I mean, if you're a young kid that wants to go play at a big school, I mean, why would you go play at Florida State anymore? I mean, you really want Willie
With that,
Taggart?
you're right. No, you're right. You're right with that off because there's something to be said about some of these, programs that get a lot of athletes in there. Everybody's going to run some formulation of a spread offense. But when you look at those Mickey Mouse hurry up offenses, they don't prepare you for getting into the NFL because you're not really making any changes on the field. You look to the sideline, you get your play, and in 2 seconds, you're clapping like this and you're snapping the ball with some read option nonsense out there that doesn't translate. The bigger, better players that want to move on to the NFL want to be coached more of an NFL type setting, and that might hurt them there. Willie Taggart's a great recruiter. Florida State's always going to get great athletes. There's no question about that. And against mid-level teams, that offense will smash them and score 60 to 70 points because they just don't have enough athletes. But when you find teams like Virginia Tech, who's well coached, and don't even let me get started, like an SEC defense that'll say, we'll rush 3 and blow up your entire offense, that Mickey Mouse stuff doesn't work that much.
Couple comments here. Hard to forget Big Man on campus laughing at the Braves and said we were effing terrible. He told me Mets would beat up on us in the Marlins. Wow, big deal. I was wrong. What are you gonna do, Kyle? Sorry, I didn't think that the Braves would beat anybody. They have no rotation. They had young players.
Yeah,
Can't
Braves
get
will be
them all
out
right,
quick in the
right?
playoffs. Anybody who wins the NL East will be out really quick in the playoffs. So.
Yeah, it's like, oh, let's keep celebrating because we made the playoffs finally. Nobody still goes to our games. Yeah, and like Donnie said, it's not going to be long. I mean, you'll be out. You'll probably get swept, or you'll lose the playing game. So, or no, you won't have a playing game, but you'll get swept. Let's say that because look, they will win the NL East. I guess that's cool. I mean,
Yeah, because it's a shame the Phillies can't beat up even on anybody or get any base hits out there. But I mean, Atlanta's still leaking oil, and they got a tough stretch to head in, even when they play the Phillies late in the season. So I mean, that's the division's not over. We've seen crazier stuff happen. In what 2007? I guess the Phillies made up 7 games in the last 17, which is a miracle. But you never know till it's over at this point because there's no MO for either one of these baseball clubs with winning anything. So, but unless the Phillies can hit, they ain't doing anything anyway. So.
Yeah, exactly. And look, I mean, the Nationals are down. Got lucky this year. Big man. Hey, Vitalis is finally in here. Hey, Vitalis, I gotta tell you, you're pretty funny at IFBC. I gotta be honest. You every time Donnie, Vitalis is one of those people that I think he's a lot like you. You joke around too much, and no one knows.
Yeah,
If you're
why
ever
not? No,
joking.
not too much. You can
But
never joke around too much. You can never joke
but
around too much.
every time I see Vitalis at IFBC, he would always say hi to me, and he would always you know those people that everything they say they laugh when they say it. I don't know. You kind of he's always trying to laugh at. Vitalis is like that. Every time he says something, it's you know. He's just funny. I don't know. He was a funny guy. Your thoughts on Virginia and how they handled Richmond? Yeah, that's an impressive win for the Cavs. I mean, Richmond are a good FCS team. They're a top 15 team. And look, Bronco Mendenhall is eventually going to start getting his people in there. They lost a lot on defense this year, so it was impressive to see. Yeah, I thought they were a solid football team. They're not going to win anything because they're in a tough conference and they're just not going to. They might go bowling. I think that would be a win for them. That was a nice little win in week one. I thought Richmond might even hang in that game. Donnie, who were the winners and losers of week one? To me, I thought winners were Oklahoma, LSU, Liberty. It's always difficult to come into a new level of football and win, but it's even tougher to come in and win like the way they won. That's impressive stuff over a pretty decent, always Old Dominion team. Winners also, I thought Washington State was a good winner. They handled Minnesota. Minnesota was a team that was a total fraud, and you had to kind of see that. They're step up in class. Losers, I would say Michigan. I thought Kansas State, even though they won, were a loser. I thought they looked really poor, and I don't think they have any clear-cut quarterback going forward. Losers also Miami and Florida State after last night. Do you have a winner or loser? Do you have someone that you thought looked good that was kind of off the charts we didn't see? Hawaii,
Yeah, I don't.
John Roy is not.
Yeah.
They're not. They're not a winner just yet. Anything, Donnie?
I think it was the entire SEC West that just shows like why is the rest of the country playing football? Might as well just be centered in the SEC West as who's going to determine to be the national championship again. Just super impressive out there. ACC showing, Virginia Tech with a nice win, but Miami comes up lame. Florida State comes up lame. Doesn't show well for the conference overall as a whole because those two teams, unless they can get it together, that ACC is not going to be worried about too much. Where Clemson might just walk into the national title championship game again just by default because the ACC is so bad. Almost a little bit like Jeff, if you can equate it to the New England Patriots. Yep, just put Clemson in one of the four spots and just let them get after it while the SEC rumbles between each other and wears each other out as the season goes on.
And one other note on college football. I don't know how many people watched this game. It was a late game. People were probably out or asleep or whatever. But you know, me being who I am, I watched this game because I was excited for it. Arizona against BYU. What on earth was Kevin Sumlin's game plan in this game? I mean, just holding back Khalil Tate. I mean, just really didn't seem to let him run the offense at all. I mean, it was just kind of bullshit for 3.5 quarters, and then he decided, oh, we're down 12 points. Maybe I should start trying to win the game. And then they started throwing the ball downfield, and it was a bit weird, a little too late. I thought he was a good hire. I liked the offensive coordinator there. I thought Tate would flourish in the Noah Mazzoni's system, and he still might. But it's time to take your training wheels off, Kevin Sumlin, and let Khalil Tate run the offense. Let him run the RPOs. Let him run, kind of the offense. He's a better player than what he showed Saturday night. I don't know what the game plan in that game was at all. Very odd from Sumlin if you watched that one. Let him run the offense, please.
No,
Um,
which unless Rich Rodriguez pretty much shit canned that offense right on the board when he wanted to sexually harass a couple people on campus, pretty much ruined Khalil Tate's ascension to maybe Heisman candidate because he was in the absolute perfect offense for his skill set and was dominating. He gets canned, and now the swagger copter comes into town and just starts jumbling things up on offense. Maybe one game last year. I mean, outside of maybe one or two that he struggled getting his foot underway, Khalil Tate was an absolute video game quarterback out there last year. Now it looks like he can't get out of his own way. Thank you, Kevin Sumlin.
yeah, no, you're totally right. A couple games to look forward to next week as far as intriguing lines. I think this one's pretty interesting, Donnie. 345, 346. Buffalo heading to Temple. Temple off of a loss to Villanova. A game we didn't really chat much about. A game that I was quite surprised by. Temple, I thought coming into the year, were a good football team. They had some real talent. They finally had a quarterback. But hey, those Villanovas and teams like that, they don't just this is a big game for them. It's in the city. They've always played the Owls tough, even in the great Owl years. Always played Villanova tough. You get Buffalo coming in, who crushed Delaware State. Really wasn't a tough game there. They're coming in though with a good quarterback in Anthony Jackson or Tyree Jackson. I'm sorry. And then you got real good receivers are pretty good defense. Are you surprised that Temple's laying points, Donnie? That's. I mean, I know they're at home and they're an AAC team, but it didn't look too good in week one.
No, I'm not surprised by that. I mean, it's an upper echelon. I mean, you can't really say upper echelon, but it's a higher level of football that Temple plays than what Buffalo does. Buffalo not really tested. I know they look good in their game. Where basically, Jeff, me and you could have run a read option out there and probably did the same score that Buffalo did on Saturday. But I'm not surprised by that. It's the hardest week of the year to me to bet in college football is week 2. We always like to call it overreaction week 2 because you don't really know quite what you saw week 1 heading into week 2. And also, it's if you played at any level of football, teams improve markedly from game 1 to game 2 when the kids have a chance to get out there, play in front of the fans. Maybe their nerves finally settle down. They have a whole week to correct their wrongs that they had in the game. So you'll get a lot of different football teams week 2 than you saw in week 1. I'm not surprised Temple's laying points here.
Another big overreaction. We'll do one or two more here. Hawaii laying 17 points this week. Now, Donnie, keep in mind, they've been underdogs the last 2 weeks.
By double digits.
Right. I mean, now you're a 17-point favorite. The game is in Hawaii. It's the last game on the board. It's Rice. Drew Martin made a point to me, Donnie, last night on our college football show that he thinks Rice is a decent matchup for Hawaii, even defensively. Mike Bloomgren's team have definitely made a step in the right direction. I thought against Houston they played pretty well. I think they will be able to move the ball. Listen, I feel like with Hawaii, just kind of blind bet overs at this point. I mean, their offense will move the ball here. They're going to put up a lot of points here against Rice. Rice can't stop Prairie View. What makes you think they're going to stop Hawaii? Question is, can Rice move the ball? I think they can. You're only really seeing about a 6-point move on the total from last week. That's kind of something to look at. But it is Hawaii in a much bigger role, Donnie. They're underdogs before. Now they're laying almost 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't want to lay almost 3 touchdowns with Hawaii. I know how good they looked out there. Don't get me wrong. But you're looking at a team last week with Rice. Rice now coming into playing their 3rd football game. In the first half, they hung around. It was more self-inflicted wounds by Houston than it was Rice playing well because the game sort of got away from in the second half. I think that's more of the real Rice football team. But again, Hawaii overall is not as talented as Houston on offense and on defense. I know, Hawaii looked great on offense. But Houston has a little bit more firepower and talent. The one thing I do like is you're right about the blind bet overs. If you're looking at this game coming in and you say Hawaii, what's their over-under team total? They're going to get into the 40s, right? I mean, they're going to throw it all over the place out there. And even you saw last week with a high-scoring game with Navy. Let's get this straight here. Navy's going to run the football on some drives, even though Navy only plays 3 or 4 or 5 plays in a drive. That sucks 5 minutes off the clock. That's not going to be the case in this one. Hawaii's going to get, possessions into the teens in this one. So if you're just blind, I agree. Chris opens up at 65, Jeff, and you're automatically out there seeing Chris at now 68.5. It's going to be a lot of points scored in this game, no question about it.
Yeah, amen. Liberty, a 10-point dog at Army. Liberty we saw in week 1 looked terrific. You have to ask yourself, though, was that just off the high of it being game 1 and they wanted to go in and kind of take care of business? I mean, you see this open 12, it's down to 10. You're still getting double digits with the Flames. Army didn't look great, Donnie, though, in week 1. I mean, they had major issues against Duke. They only ran for 168 yards, which is way out of their kind of grouping. They usually are in the 300-400s. You also look, Donnie, and this is kind of random, but Liberty have been lined 12 times as a program. They've never not covered a number. Kind of just a random stat, but they're 12-0 against the spread when lined. They've covered 4 straight games over the last 3 years as kind of a program. Nothing really important there. But you look at this game, Don, and you have to think, and this is what makes week 2 tough. You're right about this. Is Liberty this good, or was Old Dominion that bad, and they were just kind of, off the high of the first game? 10 points seems to be pretty valuable in a game like this. Or does Army just come in and say, you know what, we're going to destroy you with this triple option. You're not ready for it. It's week 2. I think maybe a sneaky over could be a play here, Donnie. I mean, the total at 58, Army could run all over Liberty, and Liberty might be able to move the ball as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting game when you break it down because you're right. Guam brings up a good point. Not a lot of speed in there. When you look at Navy more as Jeff, it's kind of funny because they run the same offense, but Navy more the home run hitting triple option, whereas Army says, you know what? All we want is 4 yards a carry, and if we get the 4th and 1, we're going for it anyway, so it's not a big deal. It's 2 interesting things, but you're right. When you look at an Army team go against Liberty, if you have a big physical presence in the middle and you can hold up, you can slow down that Army offense. but the athletes aren't the same. They're at Liberty. Now they're getting their program rolling, getting it underway, but it's hard to stop that fullback up the middle. He's going to rip off chunks, and then you get to hit it off around the end. It's interesting. One I want to bring up, Jeff, which I know you'll love this one. Howard versus Kent State is this weekend. A nice showing by Kent State. I know Illinois is a trash program out there, but Kent actually showed a heartbeat. And Howard, to me, hanging around against these Division 1A teams. What can we expect? Because there's nothing is lined just yet in this game, but Howard's going to be live again to try to go in and knock off a Division 1A squad.
Well, Howard actually played Kent State last year, and
Yeah.
they for the most part were pretty competitive in that game. Look, listen, Howard's a good program. That MEAC conference has some good football teams. NCA&T, obviously, we talked about. Obviously Howard here. They're a pretty decent football group. NC Central's usually pretty good. They're coached by Mike London. If you know Mike London, he coached for Virginia for many years.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'll be interested to see where this number is. I would guess it's probably in the 20s. That's where it was last year. It was
Really?
actually, I
Wow.
think, yeah, it actually opened 21 last year. I remember,
Mm.
and Howard covered easily, if I can remember correctly. This is a game that's interesting, Donnie, because Kent State has a totally new offense. They're a lot quicker. Woody
They
Barrett
actually
comes in
have
from
one. Yeah. Yep.
yeah, Woody Barrett comes in from Auburn. He's a guy that can move the ball. I'll be interested to see what this number is because Howard hung around against Ohio. We remember last year they beat UNLV. They're a team that can put points on a board. Might be looking at a total here. Howard's going to get on the board against Kent State. It's a question of what this total will be. If you get a total at like 58, 59, you might be looking at an over. This could be like a 34-28 type of game. Howard might stay right with Kent State. I think you get above 3 touchdowns. I really do. They were 21-point favorites last year. I can't think it'll be much different this year.
One quick one, Jeff. 385, 386. Penn State rolling into Pittsburgh here. 2 years ago, Pittsburgh did beat Penn State in Pitt. 70% of the early money coming in on Penn State. But the interesting part about this, Jeff, line opens up at 7.5, even 9 at Chris. Staying around that same range, 9, 8.5. Maybe an overreaction or not. Penn State escapes a good App State team, but I mean, they're favored by damn near 3 touchdowns in that game and should have actually lost the game when you saw Pitt have an easier time with an FCS. So I believe it was Albany they played, took care of business easy. But sometimes you're going to look at this and be like, the public would say, well, Penn State struggled. Now they're going on the road. They're laying more than a touchdown. Hell, I'll just take Pitt again, thinking they can pull off the upset.
Yeah, listen, I think Pittsburgh are very live in this game. I mean, this is a big time game for that Pittsburgh team. I mean, they've been looking up at Penn State for a long time. I think for a team like Pittsburgh, this is obviously real motivation here. As far as Penn State, again, I don't think they're that good a football team. They're solid. I mean, Trace McSorley's a good quarterback. They have some weapons, Miles Sanders, but I thought they lost way too much to be a top 15 team. And I remember someone asked me if there's a team you could take out, who would it be? It'd be Penn State. I don't think it's going to be any different. This is a tough game in Pittsburgh against a team that is just mouths are just watering for a chance to beat you. Pittsburgh does it every year, Donnie. They beat a team that they shouldn't beat. Kenny Pickett at quarterback. They have a good run game, solid defense, probably the best defense Narduzzi's had at that university. Listen, you're getting 9 points right now. For me, I could only go with the dog here. I just don't think Penn State are very good, and it's on the road in a tough atmosphere. This is a
Rivalry.
big
Yeah.
time football game, yeah. And look, Pitt does it every year. I think Narduzzi has something up his sleeve. This game's been circled on Pitt's calendar for a long time.
Yeah, when you're taking a look at some stuff like that, let me just get a look, see if we have any. No first half numbers are out. So if you're looking at maybe a 8.5 or 9, you're probably looking at some around that 6 range in the first half. One of those games where they might be able to feel each other out. Maybe Pittsburgh's a live dog in the first half, keeps the game close. Because the one thing I don't see in this game is Penn State the better overall football team? Sure they are. I mean, recruiting wise, better quarterback, I believe, overall. But, you're going on the road, a rivalry type game. They're going to be amped up and ready to go. I can't see one team either way, Jeff, running away with this in the first half. So if you're looking for a live dog, getting almost a touchdown probably from Pittsburgh, something I'm going to keep an eye on and I'll watch that game. But it's an interesting one. Looking forward to it. It's an 8 o'clock Saturday night game. So you get all day to relax and maybe get prepped up for that one, Jeff.
Yeah, it'll be a good one for sure.
Yeah.
Donnie, we'll give you a few minutes here. Baseball, what is going on? What happened last night?
Yeah, I mean, most people not paying attention to the Sunday games, of course, because they're barbecuing outside. You had some football at night to deal with. But DeGrom, just yet another gem on the mound. 6 innings, 1 earned run, absolutely amazing. Gives up, I believe, a solo home run in the first inning to Justin Turner, shuts it down the rest of the way. Even provides a little bit of offense, Jeff, for himself. Won the one game, and then the MO, it seems like, of the Los Angeles Dodgers. If you could just stay tight with the Dodgers and get into their bullpen in the eighth and ninth inning, you'll pick up a win. Nimmo 3-run blast on the road. Down goes the Los Angeles Dodgers again. We just harp on that bullpen, which was once thought to be a strength for that team, is actually a weakness at this time. And also keeping it moving down the list there. Who else do we have? Trevor Williams with another. Jeff, I don't understand what's going on here over the past 2 months with Trevor Williams. He's better than Chris Sale, it seems like, at this point in his career. I don't know. He's just smoke and mirrors, Jeff, like a 92-mile-an-hour fastball, tries to paint the inside corner and the outside corner. Jeff, nobody can hit Trevor Williams. Nobody. Like maybe one, 7 innings shutout. Nice. Next game, 6 innings, 1 earned. Okay, he's going to break. Next game usually gives, 4 innings, 6 earned runs. Nobody can touch Trevor Williams. Are we missing something here, Jeff?
I have no idea. He's pitched tremendously. I don't know what's going on with him. Back to DeGrom, he better win the Cy Young. It'd be a travesty if he didn't. But yeah, no, Williams is pitching like a Cy Young candidate. Impressive stuff. I don't know where he's come from, but hey, you got to get a resurgence. And look, he's still a pretty young pitcher, so he's obviously helping himself. Yeah, impressive stuff by the young kid.
You look at pitchers and you just see they have it. Like, let's just say, like, the MOs of, DeGrom, maybe Syndergaard, Sale, Scherzer, where it's like they have electric stuff. When you see Trevor Williams, it's just some big lumberjack out there throwing like low 90s with nothing really to speak of in the way of like a wipeout pitch. And he's dominating baseball. Just one of those interesting things I wanted to bring up. And the Stros rolling again, Jeff. Didn't we just have that tag like they were struggling in August? And all we kept saying was, just get right. Get the pitching staff healthy. Get that 1 through 9 healthy. They'll take care of the A's and the Seattle Mariners on their way to the division victory. Looks like it's shaping up that way now.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's surprised by that. Uh, Everyone hit the like button, please. We've got a lot of people in here right now. Hit the like button. Please, please, please. Thank you. Donnie, we were going through our team by team NFL preview, and look, IPC got in the way. We were off. We had some days where we weren't here, so we kind of hit a wall with that. But here's what we're gonna do. Tomorrow we have the roundtable. Thursday the season gets going, and we'll break down that game. But did want to throw out some last minute predictions. You can write these down and hold us to it if you want. It's up to you. But we won't pound our chest if we win. But we will, Donnie and I will give out game, picks that I'm actually going to be betting on. Here's what I want out of you, Donnie. And you don't have to go first. I'll go first if you want. I need your runner up in both leagues, and I need your winner in both leagues, and then I need your Super Bowl champ. I'm going to go NFC Championship. I think for the second straight season, the Philadelphia Eagles get back to the Super Bowl. And I think they beat the Minnesota Vikings again. What do you like?
Yeah, these are predictions sure to go wrong because I'm awful at prognostication of long term in the NFL at the beginning of the season. If we're looking at the NFC, and you're going to say, is that what you did first, the NFC? Or you went to the
Yes.
Super Bowl? All right, NFC, yeah, if we're looking at, divisions and the way they set up in the NFC, the Eagles, the way they're starting out this year, which we don't know now, Jeff, if Wentz is going to be back. Obviously not be back week 1, week 2, maybe even not till week 6 if they just take the long haul and say Nick Foles get out there and play. So I'm going to downgrade the Eagles a little bit at the beginning of the season because, as we know, home field advantage is massive. If I'm looking at it right now, I loved the way New Orleans came on last year, especially with their defense. I'm going to put them in the NFC title game as the NFC favorite at this point to win that division down in the South. I like the Carolina Panthers. I like the Atlanta Falcons, but I just think the Saints have a little bit more and can trust them a little bit more, especially on the offensive side of the football. And the only thing that they've missed in the past couple of years, Jeff, has been a defense. It looks like they're finally getting that underway. I'll put them in the NFC title game along with Jeff at this point. And just because they're a little bit more healthy to start the season, I'm going to go Minnesota Vikings here, G, with a slight nod over the LA Rams to get into that NFC title game.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. Kyle Brady, home pick. Kyle Brady, you're a real pest today, aren't you? You're really just trying to pick at me. That's what you're trying to do. No, I believe the Eagles are the best team in the NFC. Sorry. It's not me being a homer. I'm not a homer. If I don't think the
Once
Eagles
they get,
get Yeah.
If they cut, like, if we're
Go ahead.
taking a look at the Sixers, or excuse me, the Sixers Flyers, looking at the Eagles as a totality there, if Wentz comes back and is Wentz, let's just say if he comes back in week 6 and the Eagles are 3-3 and the Eagles are healthy, the Eagles are the best team in the NFC. I mean, it's pretty clear.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's all about just getting to the playoffs. Eagles will get to the playoffs. So yeah, Donnie, you're going Saints over Vikings. I'm going
Mhm.
Eagles over Vikings. And I will shout out to the form guys. Drew from the forum is in here. Says the form guys are loving it. We welcome you. If you're out there listening, met a lot of you guys out in Vegas. Great
Mhm.
guys. Very approachable, very candid, very funny. Great guys. Welcome in form people. AFC, motherfucking AFC, Donnie. This will be interesting. I'm going Houston Texans and New England Patriots.
Yeah.
Houston will beat the New England Patriots and go to the Super Bowl.
Now, I look. I know Houston's hot. They're a hot topic pick here. It's just hard. Again, it's the same way you're entering it in because I want Deshaun Watson, the Deshaun Watson I saw last year. I want that offense that I saw last year. But coming back off the knee injury, maybe he doesn't run as much. Maybe he isn't dynamic because I haven't seen him on the football field playing, real live bullets in the regular season. But can the defense stay healthy as well? Because I mean, we know J.J. Watt's a damn good player when he's healthy. Can he stay healthy the entire way? Because they are going to get some pass rushing out there. They're going to get a good defensive effort each and every week. But is that offense going to be the same? And can Bill O'Brien hold up as an NFL football coach and make those clutch decisions? I like him as that because, dude, you have to take a leap because it's too easy to go like this, Jeff. Ready? New England Patriots and Pittsburgh Steelers are going to meet up in the AFC title game. I like that you have to take a shot on maybe a longer shot type team like Houston to get in there. But having said that, when I look at New England, it's Belichick, it's Brady, and it's Foxborough. And again, it's still the AFC East, who Nathan Peterman is going to start. Sam Darnold is going to start. The Dolphins don't look to have that great of a season, probably going to end up with 7, maybe 8 wins. The New England Patriots will roll through that division like they always do, take care of their out-of-conference schedule once they get healthy. Again, the defense will be a little bit better. They'll be sitting with 12 wins again and home for the holidays in Foxborough. New England is going to the Super Bowl again just by proxy because the AFC East puts them in there every single year as an unfair competitive advantage to the entire NFL. If you move New England, like if you had like the like the EPL, Jeff, where you have to downgrade teams and they get relegated. If you just had to move New England over to like the AFC North, they wouldn't have such an easy time. We get banged around by physical defenses, but they have a cakewalk every year. They will be there. Second place team in the AFC. I mean, if we're going down the list, chalky. I think Jacksonville's still going to have a pretty good season. I think Tennessee might be sneaky. Houston, that's a really good division, Jeff, because when you get into it there with Andrew Luck now back, if he's healthy, that AFC South is pretty electric down there. But I just seem to think going chalk, super chalk is the way to go. I don't know about a second place team. If you had to put me on the spot right now, I still think Chargers can actually get there, even though they don't have a home field advantage. It's a watered down AFC. So I'm going to take out of the West. I'm going to go Chargers meeting up, Jeff, in Foxborough to get beat down by the Patriots to end it all.
I'm a big Denver guy, Donnie. I think they can be there
Yeah.
as well. As far as the Super Bowl, it's tough. I mean, these are just predictions. Listen, I think Houston are good enough to win the Super Bowl. I do. I think Deshaun Watson's a star. Look, obviously, when you make a prediction, things need to go right. I think when fully healthy and with their quarterback and with their skill players, I think they're good enough. I think they will beat the Patriots. I think the Patriots' reign ended last year. Eagles will be good. It's so hard to repeat, though. But I look at the Philadelphia Eagles and I tell myself and I say to myself, I think they have the best overall team in the league. I really do. I think with Carson Wentz in there, he's an MVP caliber player. Alshon at receiver. You got a good group of running backs. I think you have the best offensive line in football with some real depth. Defensive line's terrific. I believe the Eagles go back and repeat. I do. I bet them to go to the Super Bowl. I bet them to win it. I'm going to go Eagles over Houston.
Yeah, I like it. Look, if I'm just going to go, because you're just going to pencil in New England in the Super Bowl, they've been there, done that. Took a heroic effort by the Philadelphia Eagles to knock them off last year. Some trick plays out there and just coming up with some big plays when you need it. It would have been interesting to see if Brandon Graham didn't strip Tom Brady, but I'm just going to keep on going back. You just pencil it in. If Brady plays the full schedule, nobody's beating them in Foxborough, and they'll be in the Super Bowl again. And it's hard enough just to get there, and they'll probably play. Even if they're coming up against an inexperienced team on the NFC coming in, whether it be the Minnesota Vikings or whoever it be, I would love to see a New Orleans Saints Super Bowl versus New England Patriots. I think it'd be a lot of fun and a lot of points out there. But I'm just always going to lean on Bill Belichick in 2 weeks getting ready to prepare. We'll see where his defense is at, but I'll go chalk again. The Patriots just by default because they have it easy every single year.
MVP is interesting. Drew Brees 12-1, not bad. Carson Wentz 9-1. Tom Brady 4-1. Donnie, any long shot? Anyone that you're keeping an eye on? Deshaun Watson 20-1, not bad. Even deep. You look at. I don't know. Who do we want to look at? Case Keenum, 50-1. Anyone that you're always, I know you're not a big future guy, but
no,
anyone that you have your eye on?
Yeah, again, it's a top 5 play in there, but I'm not one that's going to go deep down and say like a Saquon Barkley or you just want to take a flyer on somebody. You have to look at some teams that you believe and you think are going to go far and have the ability to put up arcade numbers, Jeff. And you go no further than going down in the dome there in New Orleans. I mean, Drew Brees every year, he's going to throw for 300 to 350 yards, even when they're losing. I always get a joke out of it. He's one of the best fantasy quarterbacks because he cares about stats, Jeff, more than anybody. How many times have you seen the Saints over the past couple of years with their dreadful defense down 41-21 with like 3 minutes to go in the game when any other football team out there would be handing it off just looking to get out of there? Drew Brees wants to go 80 yards in 7 plays. Doesn't care if he takes up all the 3 minutes. He wants those stats and touchdown passes. He can get a ton of touchdown passes this year. Obviously, every year you go into it now with the helmet rules, there's going to be a ton more points scored. He's going to be able to put up between 40 to 50 touchdown passes this year. The team is going to be good, and that's half the battle that you need to be an MVP candidate. I think Drew Brees is going to be able to get it done this year, Jeff. Plus 1,000, I believe, at $5. Yeah.
That's a good bet. Bet365, 12-1 right now. That's a good bet.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he's obviously going to be the perfect kind of guy you want. I'm not sure why Russell Wilson's in there. Russell Wilson's not going to win the MVP. Good player.
No, trust me, if Russell Wilson wins the MVP, that means Seattle was 10-6 or 11-5, and he did everything. So I don't see it happening. But hey, I mean, if you're going to take a flyer and you're going to take one of those lottery ticket guys, I mean, he does have to put it all on his back in Seattle, but I don't think it's going to help him out that much this year.
What about David Johnson, 40-1?
Yeah, no, guys, you're right. If you're going to run your offense through somebody, you're going to have a chance to do it. The only problem is, Jeff, is what's Arizona going to be able to do out there in that division? Are they going to be able to beat the 49ers, take on the Rams? And still Seattle's tough, and there's some good defenses out there. I love David Johnson. He's going to get a ton of looks out there, but it also matters, again, your football team has to be good.
Donnie, any way you see Kirk competing for MVP? I'll answer that. No. Am I right, Donnie?
No, he's not. Yeah, because you're not what are you going to do in that division up there? You're not really going to be. Minnesota's not designed technically, Jeff, for shootouts. And to be an MVP at a quarterback, you're only going up against numbers of other quarterbacks. Like if Kirk Cousins, put it this way, if Kirk Cousins throws 45 touchdown passes in Minnesota, just give them the Super Bowl. Because with that defense, if their offense is humming like that, they're going to blow teams out of the water. So I don't see it because, again, when you have a really good defense, sometimes as a quarterback, even though in Washington, Kirk Cousins took a lot of chances because you had to in Washington, he might dial it back a little bit and go, why make this read right here when I can get a field goal and lean on that nasty defense? He's not going to do that this year.
Yeah, I mean, at 20-1, I mean, I'd rather have Deshaun Watson at the same price. Way more prone to put up bigger numbers. Great football talk. Always enjoy that. That's fun. Season gets going on Thursday. Eagles Falcons at the link.
Coming up too quick, Jeff. How the hell did this sneak up on us, man? Jesus.
Yeah, I know. 85 degrees is going to be a game time. It's going to be hot. Let's get into off topic. We have a few minutes left, Donnie, and I got to tell you, I'm excited for off topic today because I have been very excited for this for a long time. It's not very far away, and Donnie, the last time I was excited for a movie in the theaters, it was I want to say I don't know. I might have been. I think I was a teenager. No, I was. I think 16 or 17. It was Get Rich or Die Trying. You remember that movie, 50 Cent's movie?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I was very excited for that movie.
Jeff,
Just
did
kind
you
of something I
always want to
wanted to
have the
see.
backpack and throw it to the guy and just leave without tags and
Oh yeah,
registration or anything?
yeah. And not do anything. Just throw him the bag of money and be like, all right, there you go, bruv. And I'm
You
gonna
might be able
drive
to,
off
Jeff.
and
You
I'm
might be
white.
able to. Can you do that now? Is it possible that you could do that right now?
Uh, I got a couple duffel bags in my day, yeah. Um, but no, I'm very excited for White Boy Rick to grace the movie theater. I've followed White Boy Rick's story for a long time. I'm excited that they're going to put it on the main screen. I think America needs to see this story. A lot of people were in that social justice kind of area now. If you don't know who White Boy Rick is, do your research. White Boy Rick is a fascinating character, Donnie. I know you are in that age group to remember this. It was before my time, but I'm a big
Mhm.
crime guy. Read into this stuff.
Yeah.
White Boy Rick is really interesting story, and the trailer is terrific. McConaughey is in it. Get a young actor playing White Boy Rick. I'm really excited for this movie. It looks terrific.
No, it does, and it's one of those things where in the government, I think it was like American Made with Tom Cruise in there. That whole story where the government will set you up and want you to do your part for the government, and then they will pull the ripcord on you at any moment and say, "Well, we didn't know he was going to get into drug dealing." I don't want to give away the whole line of the story, but I've read up on it. It's a fascinating, fascinating type of movie. And I remember when the trailer first came out, I was like, "They really made a movie on this." If you haven't done your background yet, just take a look. I mean, you could Google White Boy Rick and just get the background information on that. A white drug kingpin, Jeff, is a teenager that was set up by the government there. It's a fantastic story. You're right. Looking forward to it as well.
Real quick, White Boy Rick was basically a drug dealer. He was 15,
Yeah.
16 years old. He started selling crack. He became a big time, kind of big time drug dealer with the Curry brothers in Detroit, Maserati Rick, a lot of the big boys in Detroit. He started selling a ton of drugs. His father was a small time a gun dealer. He got jammed up and so on. But it's a terrific story. He's the youngest juvenile prisoner to still be in
Yeah.
prison in America. Basically, he's been in prison for 30 years. And you basically have Donnie murderers that have gotten out before White Boy Rick, and a lot of it has to do with Rick's connections to
Yep.
corruption and things like that. Gil Hill, people like that in the Detroit Police Department. It's a fascinating story, and it's a story that has largely been not reported on. Most people don't know who White Boy Rick is, and that's a shame. And a lot of it has to do with White Boy Rick being white. He was white in an area that was mostly black, and it was fascinating from kind of looking at it because if you
Can
heard
you
about this
imagine
guy.
that, Jeff? Like you're 15, 14, 15, 16 years old and you're a kingpin in North Philadelphia and you're white. That's really what it equates to,
And
man. It's
and the thing
amazing.
is, uh, White Boy Rick got on people's um, kind of thoughts when, if you remember Donnie American Gangster, you remember when Frank Lucas went to the boxing match and he wore the mink coat, and people were like, "Who the fuck is this guy? He's got better
Yeah. Yeah.
seats th- than
Yep.
than different people." Um,
Yep.
White Boy Rick, that's kind of how he got noticed. He went out to Las Vegas with the Curry brothers, and he's walking around in a fur coat. He's 15 years old, 16 years old, got the long hair, the shaggy hair, and people are like, "Who the fuck's this guy?"
Yep.
And it's a fascinating story. I urge all of you. The movie don't pay me. I just think it's something all of you should see. It's a real good stuff. But Donnie, let's wrap it up. Great show today. Thanks to everyone for producing on the back end. Thanks to all of you for watching the show. We'll be back tomorrow with the roundtable. Drew Martin, Ian Cameron, me,
Mhm.
Donnie. Join us for that. Donnie, that'll be it. Have a great day, man. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.